400 millimeters of Soligor goodness.
Nerd alert! Nerd alert!
Hello and welcome to DSLR Nerd. I'm your host Damien. I'm going to talk tonight about FD lenses. That's F as in Frank and D as in David. FD lenses are the old film era lens descriptions for Canon. And you can also pick up the same kind of thing for Nikon. I'll put up, I forget what it is. I'm a Canon guy, so happy to answer your Nikon questions, but I will probably then go Google the answer. Today in current modern Canon lenses, we have EF and EFS. Now, the EF lenses will fit any Canon body versus the EFS lenses only fit on the crop sensor Canon bodies. And then back in the film days, you had what was called FD mount. But what you can do is you can pick up a adapter for 30 to 50 to 60 bucks that allows you to mount these old lenses on your camera. The three FD lenses that I have are a 24 millimeter f2.8, which is a Sigma. And then I have a Vivitar 135 millimeter f2.8. And finally, I have this big monster called a Soligor, and this is a 400 millimeter. So you're going to go on Amazon, you're going to search Amazon for a FD to EOS adapter. And you can see you've got a few choices. Photo Diox is about $34. And you've got some Newers and Pro Optics. That one's $50. And on through $39, $49, $24, $22. I have a Bauer FD to EOS. You'll note that my Bauer has a little bit of a element in there. And that is so you can focus to infinity. Without that little piece of glass in there, you can't focus to infinity with your FD lenses. So make sure yours comes with that. So this was about $30, so this is listed at $37. It's the Bauer lens adapter FD manual focus to Canon EOS autofocus camera. Only works manually. Now that is an important thing that they're telling us here. You can attach these older FD lenses to your new EOS cameras, but you will be manually focusing and manually setting the aperture. And that's really not a big deal unless you're really new to photography and you're really reliant on autofocus. I mean, it's not a big deal just to get in and open your aperture to a certain point on your old FD lens and then get up there and manually focus your lens. Now, if you're going to be doing video, a lot of the times it's going to be in manual focus anyway, unless you've got one of the new T4i, T5i 70Ds. The real pros focus their DSLR video manually. So, but the advantage to this, so this is $37 right here, but this lens on eBay, this 24 millimeter Sigma, was probably about 60 bucks, 40 to 60 bucks. So for 40 to 60 bucks, you can get what was once high quality glass for the old film cameras. You know, a lot of cameras can be sold body only, and you see that a lot. If you're just getting into photography, pick up the body and then go on eBay and get yourself a $50 FD lens and a $40 adapter. So you're in for about 70 to 90 bucks. Now let me show you guys how to attach this. So these old lenses had a little lever here which the camera then used to set the aperture on the lens. For you beginners, aperture is basically the iris on a lens. It goes from a low f-stop to a high f-stop. A low f-stop is actually a more open aperture, so a 2.8 is on this lens what's called wide open, so the aperture is all the way open, letting in as much light as possible, and that gives you a very shallow depth of field, a relatively shallow depth of field. And then this one goes up to f/22, which is a little tiny pinprick of an opening, a little tiny opening, which lets in less light, but then everything is in focus. So if you're going to shoot a portrait and you want the background to be blurry, you want to be at f/28. If you're shooting a landscape and you want everything to be in focus, the Ansel Adams sort of looking shot, then you want to be up around f/22. The old film cameras, these lenses would attach right in there with the red dot and click, just like the new ones. But you're going to need these adapters then to put it on your new EOS camera. So you're going to kind of line this up. Now there's not really a red dot to red dot thing going on with this one. You're going to kind of feel for it as you turn this around. A lot of these have a little button on them that locks the lens on. So you basically just kind of have to get it open like that, get it pushed in, and then press that little button and turn it to lock it. Just like that. Did you guys see that? So I press this little button to open. See right there it says lock and unlock. And I press that little button to open it up. I kind of rested it in there till it felt like it was going in, and then pressed the button and slid this over to lock. That's nice and locked. So now you don't have that little pin sticking out the back. So now you can take your lens and go red dot to red dot right in there and just turn that to lock it onto your camera. Now I have my 5D Mark III here with this older 24mm lens. Now 2.8 is an excellent f-stop to be at. You want 2.8 and smaller aperture, so 1.8, 1.4, 1.2 is always better and more expensive usually. But a 24mm f2.8, this one particularly by Sigma, as I said, I paid about 60-ish for it on eBay. For you crop sensor owners, the EOS T2i, T3i, T4i, T5i, 60D, 70D, 7D, those are all APS-C sensors. So what they do is they essentially magnify your millimeter of your lens by 1.6. So when I bought that 50mm for my Canon 60D, that was a bit too much, too close for me as a lens, especially for indoors. So I had kind of wished when I bought my 60D that I had purchased a 24 or 28mm. 24 ends up being, it's essentially a 38mm. So if you had a 28mm, you multiply that by 1.6, and you're almost to 50mm for your lens. So let's take a couple of shots here. Beer shall be my subject. So as you can see there, here's your aperture. So you can go from 2.8 and slide this over to f/22. It also has a sort of automatic feature, which basically just opens it completely wide. It's basically like going f/22. And then your manual focus is right here in the front. This also has a bit of macro on it, which is pretty cool. I'm going to go to full manual mode on my camera. So on my 5D Mark III, I can set the shutter speed, right? But it doesn't allow me to set the aperture, and it won't let me autofocus. Now it will let me go in and set the ISO, however. If I hit the Q and ISO, I can go and change the ISO. So so let's start. It's pretty well lit in here, so I'm going to start at ISO 200. Let's go like 1/80th shutter speed. And I started to press the button to get focus, and I forgot I got to manually focus. Not bad. A little dark. And the cool thing is you can turn this aperture ring and you can see it getting darker kind of in your camera too. I thought it would do that. It must be just stuck all the way open. Interesting. I remember doing this on my 60D and it actually darkened as I changed apertures, but it's not really doing it. I'm getting the same kind of wide open shot here. So the macro on this is kind of cool. It lets you get in really close to your subject. Basically kind of get in so close and then take a close-up shot. It's not macro like a macro lens or using tubes or anything like that, but it does let you get, I'm about 3 inches or so from my subject, which is a lot closer than you can get with other lenses. So that's kind of the Sigma 24. I don't know what else to say about it. I had the Canon 28mm FD, and I gave it to my friend, and I kept this Sigma 24 because I think the Sigma is a bit sharper, and I also like the bit of macro that it has on it. You'll notice I was kind of focusing by moving my camera in and out. This is something you can do. I only have one of these rings, so it is a little bit of a pain when I want to change lenses. If you find yourself shooting a lot with these FD lenses, you can pick up one of these per lens and just leave it on there all the time. In order to change lenses, then I've got to pull off my little ring and pop it on a different one. Or I could just leave this on my camera. Why don't I try that? Let's just leave that on my camera. So the next one I'm going to pop on here is a 135mm Vivitar. What's really cool about these old FD lenses is some of them have built-in lens hoods, which is really kind of cool. These are all metal and very well solid. It's got a nice big focus ring on it, and look, it's got its own little lens hood, which I think is really, really cool. So there's no red dots to line up with this little guy and the FD lens. You kind of just have to feel it in there. And then you don't turn the lens then at this point. You're kind of getting it flush into the camera and then turning this little Tighten ring here. Sometimes it clicks on the Sigma, and in this case it just tightens. Wow, I need to focus further away. It's not letting me focus on that beer, that's for sure. That's pretty dark because I don't have lights back there where I'm aiming, so let's go back up to like, let's go to like ISO 1000. 1/250th of shutter speed. Getting better. Gonna take it down to about 1/50th or 1/40th. Getting a little slower, you can hear. At that point you're going to have to worry about having it be blurry, so you'd have to up your ISO. Alright, so that's the 128mm FD lens. Pull that off. And let's put this big sucker on. The 400mm.
Yes! Yes!
There we go. There we go. And pushing it in actually locks that little, makes that little ring go over. 400mm of Soligor goodness. Soligor? 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 Soligor. When you buy FD lenses, you'll notice in the eBay listings that a lot of people say things like no fungus or no dust inside. These older lenses are not sealed as well as the newer lenses that you can buy, and so moisture would sometimes get into these lenses and cause a bit of fungus to grow, or there'd be dust inside, or cloudiness as they call it. So you want to make sure the guy or the gal states specifically that the FD lens doesn't have fungus or dust or fogginess inside. So there's some Canons in here, lots of Canons. Actually, just look for FD because these are all Canons. A lot of times people will be selling these with their old cameras. You don't want their old cameras. Film is the 4-letter word of decades gone by. We've moved past it, folks. I know people are saying that to truly appreciate photography, you should shoot with a film camera and get into a dark room and break out all the chemicals and wash your pictures through several buckets of chemicals and hang them to dry. No thanks. Never did it. Never want to. So you can just go to eBay and type in FD lens. And that'll pull up Canons and other different types. Now I'll show there's a Vivitar. More Canons. Tokina. There's a Tokina 300mm. 125 bucks. That's kind of high. I forget what I paid for this big ass 400mm, but I don't think it was more than 40 bucks or so. Zoom lenses, I don't know. I like primes better, so you'll just get better f-stops with primes. Here's an old Sigma 35mm f2.8 to f4, meaning that at 35mm you're at f2.8, but at 70mm you're at f4. So I like primes myself much better. So just scanning over some of these prices. Now these are current bids, of course. I could go in and do refine, and I can do completed listings. And when I do that, I can see, watch, these didn't sell. $19, $35, $40, $21, $131 for a Canon 28mm 1.9. That's an odd f, but that's a nice f-stop. 109, 60, 110, 22, 20. So 17, 169, 139. That's for two of them. So shop around. Watch the eBay listing. I really like this Sigma 24mm with the macro. I have to say that this is one worth checking. Now this 400, my gosh, I need something better lit across the room. This puppy is, so this is f5.6 at 400mm, and it's really dark in here, and I can't even focus on my camera. Let's see. I can find something well across the room. Boy, is it dark. This does not pull in a lot of light at all. So you want to be in the bright daylight when you use something like this. Yeah, that's dark. I'm going to walk over here and try to take a picture with this down here in the basement. Maybe take a picture of this light bulb I have from a distance. I'm still here, don't worry. You need a lot of light for this puppy. Don't know how great this would be for astrophotography at all, but I actually have the Soligor 2X and 3X that comes with this, so it turns this into a 1200mm when the 3X is on there, but then it kills the light by a factor of 3, and it already is a lens that doesn't take in much light to begin with. So I don't know. I paid 40 bucks for this, 25, 30, 40 bucks, I forgot. So thank you all for watching. I really appreciate your checking out my videos and checking out my website at DSLRnerd.com. Swing on over there. I've got some new forums up for your enjoyment. They need more posts, so would love to have more people come and post some pictures that they've taken or ask a question on my forum. And I put up some t-shirts in the store. Right now it's just the DSLR Nerd logo, but look for more interesting photography related t-shirts coming in the future. So this is Damien for DSLR Nerd, and as always, thank you for watching.